Good late at night, everybody, and welcome back to another Alt Vintage Cube Draft League. Now, I have been busy all day from the moment I woke up until now. I got up at 6:40 today, after being awake very late last night. And so let's play some Magic. Let's get some recording. I haven't had no time to plan any constructed anything. Balance is a lot stronger than Usher of the Fallen, but honestly, I think mono white aggro might be the way to go today. So let's see what happens. There's no artifact acceleration. Embereth Shieldbreaker is pretty fantastic. It being a smelt that just has a body attached to it is like pretty good in Vintage Cube because of the level of broken like artifacts and stuff. Bryn Wingmare, though, is a 3-mana Thalia. I think this card really needs a Mox or a Mana Crypt to excel, but it's another Thalia effect, and Thalia is really good, so I'm going to take Bryn Wingmare. Embereth Shieldbreaker also necessitates we move into red, where this lets me stay mono-white. But yeah, no, I'm still... I wanted to get some constructed format stuff done today for content, but I have had something else consuming all of my time, and I still want to make content, and I still love playing Vintage Cube, so that's kind of the situation that I'm in right now. I know other people want to see other things, but right now it's kind of this or nothing, and I imagine it will be this way at least through the weekend. Probably not as long as I initially anticipated, but it still has the potential to drag out that long. And I know that a lot of people are going to be like, Kano, why are you being so vague? And it's not channel related, but I still can't really talk about this at the moment. It's nothing like serious. It's nothing problematic or what would you call it? Like hazardous or anything. It's a positive thing. It just requires my attention, and I can't really talk about it. So we're gonna take Gideon. Got a pretty good mono white start. The problem is there's not several of these packs have only had one good white card in them, which tells me that somebody else might be in white. Which, I mean, if you open a Mox Pearl is one of the best things you could do, is move into mono white. Alright, Gideon of the Trials. I don't think we can play... Ooh, Wasteland. Hang on. Am I missing anything else? I wouldn't mind Bone Crusher if we were going to be white-red. Gideon of the Trials is pretty good, but is also not necessary in a mono-white format. Or a mono-white aggro deck. It's better in a control deck, I think. Wasteland is really good if we get things like Rishadan Port, or Strip Mine, or Thalia. Like, we're just on like a taxes and mana denial plan, while just playing creatures, and that's going to be good enough. So Wasteland is definitely what I'm going to take here. Okay. Spell Queller or Miscalc? Like, Miscalc this late is kind of interesting. I'm going to be looking for Thalia, and I don't really want to play Miscalc. And Spell Queller is pretty fantastic, but I don't really want to be in blue. Miscalculation going this late tells me that blue is, like, kind of open. Lingering Souls is a reasonable take here. It's less good because if we're going to be taxing non-creature spell mana cost, it's bad. Duress is pretty great if we go into, like, white-black taxes, just being able to manipulate our opponent's hand. Young Pyro, we're not going to have the instants and sorceries for, so I'll take Duress, but we'll see what happens. Alright, in this pack, there's an Eidolon of the Great Revel. There is a Plains Swamp Forest, which we could use for fixing if we wanted to play black-white. And then we could maybe wheel, like, a Ravenous Chupacabra. I don't know if we're likely to play Chupacabra or Eidolon. They're both double-colored mana costs. I don't really want to take the fixing because these are tap lands and they're very bad in an aggressive deck. I think I'm going to take Eidolon. We've seen a few good red cards coming around. Rishadan Port, I definitely like in addition to Wasteland. I think that's an incredible combination of lands for us to get, especially this early in a pack, or in a draft. Fire Blast would be fine as like top end and reach, but we're not going to get an opportunity, and I'm not taking it over Rishadan Port. Okay, there's a Rite of Flame. Skull Clamp, Phantasmal Image, Bone Shredder. I think Bone Shredder is what we're most likely to play here. It's not great, but it is removal, and it is creature-based removal. If I had taken Miscalc and taken Spell Queller, like, I could take Phantasmal Image if I was doing the blue-white thing. Rite of Flame is like strictly a storm pick. I don't think going from 1 to 2 is going to be that great for us, so take Bone Shredder. Definitely going to take Inspiring Vantage here, because I think we're going to be red-white rather than white-black. Putrid Imp's not really for this deck, and Day of Judgment. Having a Wrath is nice. There's going to be more than one, and odds are we're not going to play it because we're a very creature-centric deck. Okay, Collective Brutality, Prismari Command, and Desperate Ritual. I will take Collective Brutality. At this point, we're probably more likely to play black than red. I took Inspiring Vantage out of the last pack just because it was the best pick for us still. And there's still some chance we could play red-white. Yeah, I can take Linvala here, and I'm fine to take Linvala. It's a little taller than I want to go. We're not playing green, I don't think, at all. So I'll take Elish Norn, but I'm probably not casting Elish Norn. Stirring Wildwood, and a Corpse Dance. Alright. So we need to decide on whether we are red-white or black-white, and we need to do that in a hurry. So, Giver of Runes is the best card for our deck. Felidar Guardian's not bad, it's a little bit taller than I want to be. Ophiomancer is a fantastic card. Abrade is pretty good in this format. It also fits into the Mana Denial plan. There's a Mana Vault, but we're probably not going to need Mana Vault's specific acceleration. So, I'm going to take Giver of Runes. I think that's the best pick for us. Okay, Mana Crypt here is insane. Because Mana Crypt allows us to play a turn 1 Vryn Wingmare or a turn 1 Bone Shredder. Not that turn 1 Bone Shredder is particularly good, but a turn 2 Gideon or a turn 2 Linvala is quite good. If we get like Elspeth, we could play Elspeth on turn 3 or turn 2. Yeah, we're definitely taking a Mana Crypt. So Redain God of the Worthy is quite nice. Because Redain God of the Worthy, we can play on potentially turn 1 with Mana Crypt, and it prevents our opponent from casting Wraths. The backside of Redain, just being like an Urza's Armor is great. I'm passing up on a Chain Lightning and a Hangerback Walker, but we know we're playing white. I could take Concealed Courtyard here. Concealed Courtyard would be pretty good because we are kind of black-white. In fact, I think I'm going to take the Fixing over Redain because it's unlikely that we're going to play red. Unless, like, no more black cards come around at all. So, okay. In this pack, we have Coercive Portal, Spectral Procession, Firebolt, and Tangle Wire. I think I'm going to take Coercive Portal. It's kind of the top of what I want for mana costs, but it drawing a bunch of cards for basically no cost after that is really fantastic. Okay, I do like Armageddon. I don't know if I want Mutavault. Maze of Ith, not really in this deck either. Restoration Angel would be fine, but I think I'm going to take Armageddon. Okay, in this pack, I'm seeing a lot of good black cards. Parallax Wave's fine, but it's better in a more controlling deck. This is not really a Golos deck, although I could Golos for, like, Wasteland. I think out of the cards I'm seeing here, Sedgemoor Witch might be the way to go. It's a tough-to-block creature because it has Menace. My opponent has to pay life to remove it. And on the off chance we have like an instant sorcery we can cast, we can get free value out of it, which just kind of seems like everything this deck would want. Windbrisk Kites here is pretty good. Wheel of Fortune is also great if we had more like Moxen or Mana Crypt effects. Flicker Wisp is also pretty good, but Flicker Wisp doesn't go into a lot of decks with a very heavy white requirement. So I think I'm going to take the Heights here. Okay, I'm a huge fan of Thalia Heretic Cathar. History of Benalia, I think, is worse than Thalia here. And Vindicate is good, but I think I would rather have Thalia. Like, turn 1 Thalia off of a Mana Crypt, having my opponent's creatures and non-basic lands intertap just means I get more hits in before stuff matters. I'm still kind of on the fence about playing red. Abrade is really good. We already have a lot of creatures in the 3-drop slot, and this... I think I'm going to take Abrade over Ophiomancer, because as much as I like Ophiomancer, and as insane as Ophiomancer is, I really like the Abrade Mana Denial. Yeah, I'm going to take Abrade. I don't know if that's correct or not. We can take Grandmaster. It's not thrilling. Redain came around, so I'll take Redain. Spectral Procession, I guess. I'm not playing Thassa. I'm not playing Fallen Shinobi. I guess I'll take Maze of Ith. If I run up against Reanimator, it might be reasonable. Woestrider is technically in our colors, and Biogenic Ooze on the side. Yeah, maybe I should have just taken Ophiomancer over Abrade, but... Here's hoping we get, like, white, black, or red Mox. I'll take any Mox, obviously. And then Thalia. I'll be pretty happy with this deck. If we could get a Strip Mine, too, from this pack, I think I wouldn't... I couldn't be happier. Okay, we have a few options here. Dismember is good removal. Ranger Captain of Eos can find us any one of 3 1-drops, most likely Giver of Runes. Mana Tithe is very trolly, and then there's a Jitte. And I'm definitely going to take the Jitte because this is both removal and just completely invalidates my like creature matchups. Like we saw how powerful this was the other day when I was playing the deck I labeled Opposition and Taxes. Like, turn 1, if we could play, like, white land, 1-drop, Mana Crypt Jitte, that would just be probably the best line we can have in this deck. So I'm going to take Jitte. Okay, in this pack, I like Unexpectedly Absent as a removal spell. It is double white, but we are mostly a white deck. I could take Abbott, but this being pack 3, I'm kind of risking not having enough playables in my own colors. And I don't have that many creatures, so I'm going to take a Braid and Eidolon out, and we're going to try and focus on picking black and white cards. So there are no good white creatures in this pack, and Bloodghast isn't really a creature I want to be playing in this deck. So I'm going to take Unexpectedly Absent. Okay, Mind Twist. Mind Twist is good, but Mystic is better. I like Mind Twist because we do have Mana Crypt, just kind of like a build-your-own Hymn to Turok. But if we can take Stoneforge and wheel Maul of the Skyclaves, this deck will be pretty good. If Mind Twist or Shriekmaw comes around instead of Maul, I would be relatively pleased. But, like, Stoneforge Jitte is enough. Rankle is good, but I think he's better in the mono black deck, and I don't want to take too many double black cards, if any, really. So I'm going to take the Sword of Body and Mind here. If Phyrexian Revoker or Leonin Relic Warder comes around, or Rankle or Mishra's Factory, I would be happy with any of those. Okay, there's a Lurrus, but I would have to play Lurrus in the main deck because I have too many high CMC permanents, or high mana value permanents. I have to get used to that terminology. That's going to take a while. I think we take Oust. Lurrus is good, and we do have some good permanents, but none that like we need to recur with him. And we'll take Oust. Alright, in this pack we've got... I could take Blood Crypt, and if I get like an Arid Mesa, I don't know if I've seen that yet, then I have a way to fetch black mana. I could take Fracture for the sideboard, Smiting Helix. I could play Inspiring Vantage to splash for Smiting Helix. I could take Wear and Tear, or... I'm not really thrilled about Fracture. I'm gonna take Blood Crypt, because there's the off chance that like Smiting Helix comes around, or I get like an Arid Mesa or a Bloodstained Mire or something like that. Okay, Sword of Feast and Famine is great, but Path to Exile is better for us because we only have Oust. The Phyrexian Rager would be okay to wheel, and probably will wheel over a sword, but we already have Sword of Body and Mind, which is better, I think, when you aren't playing against black specifically, and Path is a really good effect. Even though we're kind of on the mana denial plan, the ability to answer large creatures for 1 mana while still playing other threats is pretty good. I've not seen Thalia, which is kind of interesting. That means that somebody else is probably in white, and that's why I've only seen this many white cards. Honor of the Pure, Isamaru, or Lotus Petal. If I had Thalia, I think I would take Lotus Petal. Because I don't, I'm going to take Brain Maggot. Now, if I was mono-white, I would probably take Honor of the Pure or Isamaru. Because I have Oust and Path, not getting Heartless Act here is fine. Well, Brutality and Bone Shredder are also great there, so I'm going to take Brain Maggot. Okay, I will take Ranger Captain of Eos. I like Braids. Actually, I have not gotten to play Braids in any Vintage Cube, and I think this pick is worse than Ranger Captain, because Ranger Captain's ability is just way too strong. I really want to play Braids in a deck before I don't get the opportunity to, but it's probably going to be a different deck. We'll take Ranger Captain. I'll put Bloodghast in the sideboard, but I'm probably not playing it. Shriekmaw came around. I'm okay with this. Rankle or Mishra's Factory. I can't play 3 colorless lands, I don't think. I could if I got in Strip Mine, but I'll take Rankle, although I might not end up playing Rankle. Random green card. Smiting Helix came around, so if I'm desperate for removal, I can bring in the red lands and splash for it and Daretti in the side. Alright, well I think we got a reasonable deck. I think somebody else moved into white, which is a little bit abnormal. Alright, I'm going to play Mana Crypt like it's a land, but I want 17 lands, which means I need to cut 3 cards. I'm going to cut Rankle because he's double black. I only really ever want to have 1 black source with the current way my mana base is set up. I'm going to need a double white source pretty frequently for Ranger Captain, Linvala, Gideon, and Unexpectedly Absent, which is actually a 2-drop. I'm not a huge fan of Linvala, and I haven't been really ever. I don't think she does enough, but at least because like in against most green decks, they're going to play a million mana dorks, and Linvala is amazing against that. The problem is, pretty frequently, you don't play against that, and there's not enough activated abilities on creatures. I'm going to drop Soulfire Grandmaster, just because I don't think it does enough. It's not like we have Time Walk to infinite combo with it or anything. And what is my worst 3-drop? My worst 3-drop is probably Woe Strider. So we have options. If we want to play against aggressive decks, we can bring in things like Soulfire, Woe Strider, and Smiting Helix. This deck only wants me to play 3 Swamps and a Concealed Courtyard. That is only 4 black sources. I think I want 1 more to be completely safe. Most of our color costs are single costs. And most of our white is on 3 and 4 if we need double white. I think this is the best deck I can make, given the cards that I picked. So, if you disagree with any of my picks, let me know in the comments below. Anyway, I'll see you guys in round 1. Alright, game 1, we're on the play, and I'm pretty happy with what I see, so I'm going to keep. If we draw Plains, we have Ranger Captain. Right now we have Stoneforge Mystic into Sword of Body and Mind or Umezawa's Jitte. We have Path, we have Oust. Pretty happy with this. If for some reason Stoneforge Mystic doesn't die, but we need the other white source, we could Path ourselves. When it leads on Forest, plays an Elvish Mystic. Tempted to Oust, but I won't, because we're going to go get Jitte. We draw Plains, which is excellent. So, Stoneforge Mystic. Let's go and get Umezawa's Jitte. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Ousting a mana dork is really strong because you deny your opponent mana, you give them an irrelevant resource most of the time with the life gain, and you deny them a draw in the process, and you do it for 1 mana, presumably while developing your board. So, I actually really, really like Oust. I know a lot of people say it's not actually a removal spell if you're playing control and such, but like, I've played blue-white control decks in the past that, like, you oust a creature and then, you know, you Azorius Charm an attacking creature, and then you like Teferi and tuck stuff back in their deck, and it's really mean. Like, really mean. Play a Swamp. I'm going to oust the Dryad. Then I'm going to pass. We'll leave up Path and Stoneforge Mystic activation. So opponent draws a card. So Dryad of the Elysian Grove should be the top card of their deck right now. Okay, opponent plays Raphelos and Sylvan Caryatid. Okay. So we're going to put Jitte into play. Actually, we are going to put Sword of Body and Mind into play. Untap. Draw a land. So play a Plains. Equip Stoneforge. Go to combat. Attack for 3. This is way stronger next turn because we can then equip Jitte to this and snipe down their dorks. Alright, we make them mill 10 cards. We mill Channel, Karn. Okay, this gives them 1 more mana if I Path Raphelos right now. But that prevents them from having Chord of Calling. So I'm actually going to do that. So Path Raphelos. Opponent could potentially play a 7-drop because of this. So like a Hornet Queen, I suppose. Hornet Queen, in particular, would not be too scary because we have Sword of Body and Mind. Opponent scoops. Nice. I could bring in Smiting Helix for more removal, but it's going to be really slow, so I'm just going to run it back. Maybe. There is a possibility I should drop Wasteland in favor of, like, Maze of Ith. Oh, this hand is so close to being really good. Oh, if only we had white mana. I don't trust my ability to draw it, and this is definitely me playing an extra swamp, getting screwed out of white mana right now. I'm gonna mulligan. Alright, I will keep this, and I think I put back Gideon. I'm kind of unwilling to put back lands if I'm going to be wastelanding, although my opponent is almost mono forests. So I probably won't actually wasteland this game unless they play Gaia's Cradle, so I'm gonna put back a swamp. Opponent leads on Forest and passes. No mana dork. We draw Student of Warfare, so lead on Student. Pass the turn. Really hoping I draw another Plains, because then I have a good play on turn 2. Okay, opponent plays Sylvan Caryatid. We untap. We draw Armageddon. So play a Swamp, play Giver. Pass the turn. If we can equip, like even honestly, equipping Sword if my opponent doesn't have like Reclamation Sage, and then casting Armageddon. as long as my opponent doesn't have too many mana dorks, Armageddon's going to be great. So opponent plays Questing Beast. Hits us for 4. We take 4. Untap. We draw Duress. I can play Duress, but I have to sacrifice playing Sword this turn. And Duress doesn't protect me from a lot, as I don't think there's any naturalize effects in this format. I probably should have given Student of Warfare protection from green and attacked, because they're not going to have any direct targeted creature removal unless they're splashing black or blue. So, and we can't block this Questing Beast at all right now. Okay, opponent plays Nissa. They get a forest. They play the forest. They go to combat. Hit us for 4. We go to 12. And my opponent plays Raphelos. We untap. We draw Collective Brutality. Okay, so we have a few options. We can level up Student of Warfare. And cast Duress or Collective Brutality. If I cast Collective Brutality, I'm probably discarding Gideon. I was kind of hoping I'd draw a land, so I would be able to Armageddon next turn, but I'm looking to Armageddon next turn. And if I'm doing that, I'm definitely equipping Sword, and if I'm equipping Sword, I'm casting Duress. Channel Llanowar Elves. Okay, so we're not scared of the Llanowar Elves. Opponent has a ridiculous amount of mana. Go to combat. Attack and mill our opponent for 10. We're taking at least 4 more damage, because we still can't block Questing Beast. Opponent has 2 Eldrazi Titans, and we just shuffled their channel back in. Okay, opponent untaps. They have Llanowar Elves, 1 unknown in hand. They play Llanowar Elves, and they play Paradise Druid. They hit us for 4. We go to 8. We untap. We draw Plains. Okay, Student of Warfare can block. We're not going to mill them out. So I think we're going to take a risk. Play Gideon this turn. Make a knight. Then we'll Armageddon next turn. We have to fade 1 draw from the opponent. Okay, opponent drew land. They pass, we untap. We draw Path to Exile. Alright, that doesn't do anything for us right now. So let's go ahead and Armageddon. In the graveyard in any order. I could animate Gideon and attack, but I think making knights is better. Pass the turn. Opponent draws something they can't play. We untap and draw Plains. So, play a Plains. Make a knight. Go to combat. Attack them for 3. Mill them for 10. Get a token. And we'll Path Questing Beast on their upkeep. This does give them a mana for Raphelos, provided, of course, they still have a forest in their deck, and they should, by my count. But honestly, at this point, I could just ult Gideon and Anthem my guys and start attacking with Reckless Abandon. Alright, we untap. We draw Jitte. Yep. Let's go ahead and Anthem. Go to combat. Swing for the fences. Opponent blocks. Chumps. Chumps. So presumably they have something they can cast in hand to keep themselves alive, but they're maximizing the amount of mana they can keep between Raphelos and 2 2-mana dorks. They go to 1. Alright, we mill them for 10, milling both Titans, shuffling everything back in. So Channel's a super dead draw, but they would have to have a Wrath of some kind, and I don't think they do. Although if they tap for Wrath of God off of Paradise Druid and Sylvan Caryatid, that would be mad respect. So, we got round 1, I'll see you guys in round 2. Alright, we're on the play for round 2, and this has everything in a hand that I would hope that a hand would have, except maybe Mana Crypt. We'll keep. So let's go ahead and start Giver of Runes. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a mountain and passes. We draw Sedgemoor Witch. Play Brain Maggot. Take a look at their hand. Ah, yes. Mono red. So we either take Eidolon of the Great Revel or we take Incinerate, and I think Incinerate is probably what we should take here. Alright, cool. Pass the turn. So next turn we're looking to play Sedgemoor Witch. And we're kind of hoping that our opponent either plays out Shieldbreaker first, or Eidolon and then Shieldbreaker. Okay, they play out Eidolon and a mountain. So we untap, we draw a path, play Rishadan Port, play Sedgemoor Witch, then pass the turn. Now if we cast Path on anything, we get a Pest out of the deal. My opponent is close to a Glorybringer and close to Kiki-Jiki, both of which would be very annoying for us. Okay, opponent plays Ancient Tomb, then plays Koth of the Hammer. I would really like to draw a a land next turn. So we should be able to kill Koth, because they shouldn't have 2 blockers for Sedgemoor Witch, which has Menace. They go to combat, they attack, they choose not to. They instead choose to leave the mountain up. Alright, we untap, we draw a swamp. So, play a swamp. I don't want to play Jitte, because Jitte, like, wins this matchup if it sticks around. I could play Coercive Portal as, like, a bait. If my opponent draws a land or gets to keep Koth, they'll probably try and Glorybringer next turn. Alright, go to combat. Attack Koth. If I'd preemptively given Brain Maggot Pro Red, I could have killed Koth this turn. Play Rishadan Port. Or not Rishadan Port, play Coercive Portal. Alright. Opponent floats mana, untaps a mountain, then plays Glorybringer. They go to combat. They attack us, they exert Glorybringer. They're going to kill Giver of Runes. So we give Brain Maggot protection from red. We lose Giver. Block the mountain. Take 4. And we untap. Coercive Portal, we say Homage. Draw Swamp. And we draw Wasteland. So, play Wasteland. Get rid of Ancient Tomb. Play Jitte, take damage. Equip Sedgemoor Witch with Jitte. Go to combat. Kill Koth. Okay. Jitte gets 2 counters. We pass to our opponent. We're probably going to use Jitte to kill Eidolon, but our opponent's going to force us to do that by using Battle Display. So opponent found a mountain. Alright, opponent Battle Displays Jitte. So kill Eidolon. They didn't take the bait when we played Coercive Portal, so this is what we got to deal with. Opponent then floats 3 mana. They play Birgi. Alright. So we untap, vote Homage, draw Linvala and Usher of the Fallen, play a Swamp, go to combat, attack with Sedgemoor Witch, take our opponent down to 11, stop on my opponent's upkeep, path Glorybringer, make a pest. The life gain on them pests has never looked better. Then we will also port a land. We won't be able to keep our opponent off of Kiki, unfortunately. But they also don't have a lot of good stuff to Kiki right now. And if we draw another plains, we can play Linvala, and then everything is fine. So tap a mountain. Okay. Opponent gets to draw. Opponent goes to combat. Attacks for 3. I will chump with the pest. We gain a life. And then opponent plays Seasoned Pyromancer, adding a red. They're going to discard Kiki Jiki. So they'll get an elemental out of the deal. And they get 2 cards. We untap. Coercive Portal, we vote Homage. Draw cards. We draw a Swamp and a Duress. Never was there a more opportune time for Duress. Make a pest. Shatter Skull Smashing. Nice. Opponent has Zergo Bellstriker. So play a Swamp, play an Usher. Pass the turn. No attacks. Stop on our opponent's upkeep. Tap a land because it is technically correct to do so. And as long as we like actually draw cards we can play, which seems likely as long as we have Coercive Portal, we'll be in a good place. Opponent is either dashing Zergo. Okay. So they're Lightning Strike. Kills Brain Maggot, gives them back Incinerate. So they paid a Lightning Strike to get a Lightning Strike. They're going to Lightning Strike Sedgemoor Witch, probably. Okay, yes. But they have to pay 3 life and go to 8 if they want to do that. They do. Add red. And this will let them either Embereth Shieldbreaker or dash Zergo. I imagine they just cast Embereth Shieldbreaker. Yeah, that makes the most sense to me. Honestly, now I'll vote Carnage. Okay, they cast everything. So I can either block and take out 2 of their creatures. I could double block Birgi. I actually think Birgi's kind of the biggest problem. I think I'm going to double block here. We gain a life. Vote Carnage. Okay, we draw Windbrisk Heights. We draw Gideon. So play Windbrisk Heights. Hideaway. There's all of our stuff. I don't know when the next time we're going to get to attack with 3 creatures is. I guess we Hideaway Shriekmaw. Rest of the bottom, any order. Pass the turn. Port, because it is technically correct to do so. Best kind of correct. Opponent is going to hit us for 7 and take us to 4. And Char is their top deck. Nice. Alright. So, anti-aggro time. We'll bring in Soulfire Grandmaster, and I guess we'll bring in Smiting Helix. I'll bring in Inspiring Vantage over a Swamp, because we apparently can only draw swamps when we need to draw plains. Unexpectedly Absent is going to be somewhat difficult to cast. So I'm going to bring Soulfire Grandmaster in over that, and I'm going to cut Linvala. We'll try it like this. Playing Mana Crypt is basically suicide unless we have a crazy opener. Play first. Seems alright. It's not amazing, but we have 1, 2, 3, and hopefully we draw a 3rd untapped land. Play a Plains, lead on Giver. I'm going to place a Mountain into a Goblin Guide. Okay. They attack us for 2. We take 2. So let's go ahead and Brain Maggot. They have Emperor, Shieldbreaker, Birgi, Probe, Incinerate, and Shatter Skull Smashing. Take Incinerate. Man, don't you just love it when cards reveal your opponent's hand and so you know exactly what's in your opponent's hand? Yep. Yep, okay. Then just none of these. 5 cards, 5 cards. Perfect. Pass the turn. Kind of want to cast the backside of Redain. So opponent plays Shieldbreaker and a Mountain. No attacks by Goblin Guide. We untap and draw Coercive Portal. So, play Windbrisk Heights. Put Gideon under it. Rest of the bottom. Pass the turn. If we can just maneuver into an advantageous board state, then blow up all lands, we're in a good spot. So my opponent might have to play an untapped Shatter Skull Smashing here. Okay, they have a Mountain. They play Birgi. They go to combat. They do not attack. We untap. Draw Soulfire Grandmaster. Play Plains. So we don't Armageddon yet because we have no way to recover. So we're either playing Coercive Portal, Redain, or Valkmira. I think we play Valkmira because that changes all of their combat math. Makes all of their burn spells way worse. Alright. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Wasteland. Then they play Chandra. They add red mana. Chandra makes Armageddon significantly worse. So they downtick on Giver. Valkmira trigger. Birgi gives them just enough mana to do all of this. Okay. Give Brain Maggot pro red. Lose Giver. And opponent attacks for 3, so we block. And we untap. We draw land. Play Coercive Portal. I'm not going to play any extra lands because I'm holding an Armageddon. Opponent untaps. They might Wasteland me because I missed a land drop. Okay, Strip Mine's pretty bad. So they Wasteland us, but they gotta pay a mana to do this. Okay. They uptick for mana. They probe, adding mana, and paying for Valkmira. Okay. Yeah, this sequence of draws did not go anywhere how I wanted it to go. And I think Valkmira is actually doing quite a bit to keep us alive. So my opponent has 5 mana. They play Swift Spear. Their last card in hand is Shatter Skull Smashing. So they could Shatter Skull Smashing X2 and then pay for the tax on Brain Maggot to get back Incinerate. Opponent is still thinking about it. They're going to Shatter Skull X1. That doesn't do anything though. They needed to do X2. So they add red. It doesn't kill it. But they can still Strip Mine us this turn. Yeah, that's the more important thing to use the mana on. And get rid of our black mana, so we can't draw Smiting Helix. I mean, we can draw Smiting Helix, it just doesn't do anything. Do we want to give our opponent back Incinerate? Blocking only prevents 1 damage. So we're just going to take the damage here. That actually shielded an incredible amount of damage. I kind of forget how much Urza's armor really does. I'm going to vote Carnage. Like, that gets rid of the shield, but... Alright, we drew a swamp, we drew another swamp. Never change, Moto Shuffler. Never change. range. Play Soulfire Grandmaster, pass the turn. Opponent gets to draw for turn. They also have uptick Chandra if they want to draw again. They uptick for mana. Oh gosh. I mean, if it's Glorybringer, they can't hit anything with the Exert. Okay. It's a Lightning Strike. That is, I think, the worst possible thing that could have happened. Because they can pay for it. Birgi is just negating Valkmira's usefulness. Kaldheim card versus Kaldheim card. Red card beats white card. Why am I not surprised? Then they can Lightning Strike to kill Soulfire Grandmaster. This is what I get for not taking that Wrath of God. Yeah, Birgi gave them just enough mana to do that. Like, if they drew Koth instead of Chandra, or any other 3-drop instead of Birgi, like, wow. Alright, Vrynwingmare on top of our deck. Take 6 damage. We untap. Vote Carnage. I kind of have to draw Smiting Helix. Play a Swamp. Play Thalia. She has First Strike and can block. Opponent can downtick Chandra to kill her, but they would lose Chandra in that case. They drew Mox. So they play the Mox for a Prowess trigger. Okay, they are going to kill Chandra to kill Thalia, because otherwise they presumably just don't have an answer to that. We take 5 damage from this attack. Stoneforge Mystic on top of our deck actually does give me some small hope. Vote for Carnage. We draw Stoneforge and a Plains. So if I play Vrynwingmare and I play Stoneforge, I can block here and block here. And if my opponent top decks a land, I'll go to 1. So we have not used Jitte yet this game. Play a Plains, play Stoneforge. I should have been playing out these lands. I was expecting to Armageddon, and then I got Wasteland Strip Mined in 1 turn. We will get Jitte. I wish I could play it and equip it, but I can't. So we play Vrynwingmare. Pass the turn. Opponent draws a card. They go to combat. They swing out, revealing Shriekmaw on top of our deck. So block here, take 1. Unless my opponent has something else. Okay, we go to 2. Stoneforge Mystic survives. We untap. Vote Carnage. Do we vote Carnage still? What's on top of my deck? Shriekmaw. Vote Homage. Draw Shriekmaw. And we draw Duress. So play a Swamp. I'm going to evoke Shriekmaw. Kill Birgi. And we play Jitte. Equip Jitte. Go to combat. And we have to attack. Okay? 2 counters on Jitte. Pass the turn. And depending on what our opponent does, that changes what we do. They play a land. Hellrider. Okay, so we don't take any damage from the Hellrider triggers. This doesn't have a prowess trigger, so it doesn't do damage. We take 1 here and 2 here, so that's 3 total damage. So we just gain life, right? I could downtick to kill Goblin Guide, but I would still take 2 off of Hellrider, so yeah. Let's see what our opponent does. They go to combat. Take no damage. Take no damage. Let's see what we reveal. Sealed Courtyard, alright? Gain life. Gain life. So we'll end up taking 3. Untap. Vote Homage. We don't want to do Carnage now, because we would be dead to like a top deck Lightning Strike if we did. We draw Path. Excellent. So, play Concealed Courtyard. Go to combat. Oh man, Jitte's so strong. Valkmira getting the highlight here. Attack our opponent for 1. Opponent no blocks. 2 charge counters on Jitte. I kind of want to Armageddon, actually. I shouldn't have played a land if I was going to do that. But I could Path Hellrider and then Armageddon, and my opponent can't really cast anything. I should not have played Concealed Courtyard if this is the plan. But I think this technically increases my chances of victory, because it stops my opponent from top-decking something like a Braid. Yeah, playing that Concealed Courtyard out might actually cost me the game. Because this is all of our black sources, except 1. Actually, it might be all of our black sources. Opponent scoops. Alright, they got 4 minutes for game 3. And that was all of our black sources, by the way. Alright, I think we're going to run it back. Alright, opponent has 4 minutes. Can they win it? This seems like a good opener. We'll keep. We have no non-basic lands. We have Collective Brutality, potentially maximum value. Opponent plays a Zergo, which will die to Collective Brutality. We draw an Oust, or we can do that. We'll deny our opponent another draw, pass the turn. I played out a Plains and not a Swamp to play around a potential Strip Mine. Opponent plays Shatter Skull, the Hammer Pass tapped into a Swift Spear, and they hit us for 1, so max value Collective Brutality time. We draw Thalia. Duress, kill, drain, ditch Linvala and a Plains. Take Incinerate. Oh, yes. Pass the turn. Opponent draws Zurgo. Plays a land. They can play Birgi. They do. We untap. We draw a Shriekmaw. So play Thalia so they don't get any dash shenanigans in. Opponent untaps. They draw a land. Their hand is Zurgo and Inferno Titan. They'll probably just play Zurgo, I imagine. Yep. Okay, they add mana. He enters tapped. Then they pass. We untap. We draw Plains. Play a Plains. Play Ranger Captain. We will tutor up Giver of Runes. Play Giver of Runes. Pass the turn. No reason to sack Ranger Captain. I think we're better having the creature right now. 3 mana, opponent plays Rampaging Ferocidon, so we can't gain any life, and they get a creature with Menace. Alright, we untap. We draw Armageddon. That probably wins us the game. Go to combat. Attack here and here. Opponent doesn't block, takes 6. I'm gonna evoke Shriekmaw. We do lose a life, and we can't gain life, but we'll kill Birgi. Because they can't, unless they have... No, they can't. There's nothing they can draw that gets them to Inferno Titan. If they'd gotten Gitaxian Probe and then probed into a land, they could have. They attack us for 5, so no blocks. Take 5. We untap. We draw Path. Yeah, Armageddon. Any order. Go to combat. Attack for 3. Pass to our opponent. So with Ferocidon, we could double block, give Thalia Pro Red, and Thalia has First Strike. Yeah. Opponent can't really do anything, and they don't have the clock to actually come up with a plan. Plus we drew a land. We can just path. Like, it doesn't even matter that this gives them a land. Go to combat, hit them for half their life total, pass the turn. Opponent goes to combat, and we win the match. Alright, I'll see you guys in round 3. Alright, round 3 will be on the play, and I do like what I see. I will be keeping. Because I don't have 2 white mana sources, I'm actually going to lead on Duress here. Opponent has Ancestral Recall, Turnabout. Well, take Ancestral Recall. And that's why Duress is good, folks. That was actually 1 mana, discard 3 cards. Opponent plays Shelldock Isle. Sure. We untap and draw Sword of Body and Mind. Play Student of Warfare. Pass the turn. I mean, we can even wasteland to that Shelldock Isle. Which is kind of overkill because my opponent has a bunch of lands right now, but untap and draw. Play a Plains. I think I am going to play Sedgemoor Witch rather than just level up. Okay, pass the turn. Next turn I can like play Sword and wasteland something. Okay, opponent plays an island. They play a Soul Ring. They have access to Turnabout. We draw Redain. So, play Wasteland. Wasteland Shelldock. Opponent's going to turn about our creatures, maybe? Oh, they're cycling Savai Triome. Okay. I'm going to play Redain because of the odds that my opponent may have a Damnation in their deck. This also stops them from casting Turnabout unless they pay 2 extra mana. The Sword might still be better, but we needed to Wasteland Shelldock there and not Underground Sea, specifically because if we do play and equip the Sword of Body and Mind, we could then like potentially allow them to cast something off of Shelldock, and it could be as nasty as Emrakul. But it plays a Swamp. They Mind Twist, getting rid of our Sword. We untap. We draw Rishadan Port. Perfect. Play Port. Level up. Level up. Go to combat. Attack, attack, attack. So opponent is dead in 1 turn if they have nothing here. So stop on their upkeep. They're Vampiric Tutoring. Okay. If they have... what's it called? If they have Toxic Deluge, they can survive this, and we might actually lose. Although they have Ancestral Recall, Mind Twist, and Soul Ring, so their deck is like crazy powerful. We'll tap Underground Sea on their upkeep. If it's Damnation, they can't play it. Not without a mana vault, I think. Opponent is tapping for Turnabout, but they also don't have the mana to Turnabout, because Turnabout costs 6 thanks to Redain. Redain's so good! So good! Alright, Time Twister. Yeah, that didn't do it. Yeah, got him! Nice. Alright, do we have anything for our opponent's deck? Not really. Run it back. Duress and Wasteland. Oh, this hand is much, much slower. I've got to mulligan that. If I had black mana, but I think I have to mulligan as well. We haven't seen Mana Crypt this entire league. I'm going to keep this. We'll put back Oust and Bone Shredder. Opponent kept 7 and they're on the play. They start by suspending Lotus Bloom and playing an island. We draw Windbrisk Heights, so play Concealed Courtyard, play Usher of the Fallen, pass the turn. Lotus Bloom ticking down. I've got the feeling my opponent is Storm. They play Jace. We untap and draw Armageddon. Play a Plains, go to combat, attack for 2. Okay, go ahead and boast. And our opponent to 18. Lotus Bloom ticking down to 1. Now I might be unexpectedly absenting to put Lotus Bloom on top of my opponent's deck. Could also do that with Jace. Jace is nowhere near a threat. Not yet, anyway. They ditch Underground Sea. They play Savai Triome. We untap. We draw Jitte. Jitte is tempting, but play Windbrisk Heights. I'll put Linvala under Windbrisk Heights. Now the question is, do we tuck Jace, do we try and tuck Lotus Bloom, or do we boast? If we boast, we could potentially get to Linvala, which would shut off Jace, but I think we're actually going to tuck that Lotus Bloom. That much mana is scary. So hit our opponent for 3, pass to their upkeep. Lotus Bloom comes off suspend, put it on top of their deck. They'll just immediately draw it this turn, but this prevents them from having 6 mana. Unless they have a 6 mana instant, at which point this does nothing. But even in the combo decks, there's not a lot of big mana instants that they would want to play, I don't think. If we draw a land, we're almost certainly suiting up something with Jitte. Okay, opponent loots with Jace. I could just, if my opponent taps out for something that doesn't really matter, we could Armageddon. They ditch Sheldock Isle. Okay, they're going to sack Lotus Bloom for white on their upkeep. They don't want to draw it. They play Lava Claw Reaches. We untap. We draw Mana Crypt. Jitte it is. Play Mana Crypt. Play Jitte. Equip Jitte. Go to combat. Attack for 3. Okay? Kill Jace immediately. Then pass turn, leaving up path. Next turn, we Armageddon. Because we don't even care about what's under Windbrisk Heights. We just care about the fact that our opponent would possibly never recover from this. Don't mind twist me, bro. Don't do it. Deathrite Shaman. Okay. That's getting a path. Stomping Ground tapped. That's what I want to see. More tapped mana. Path Deathrite. Auto-resolved. That tells me they don't have a counter. We untap. Mana Crypt, Tails Never Fails. We lose the flip. Take some damage. Draw Student of Warfare. Go to combat. Attack, attack. Jitte counters. Armageddon. Oh yeah, that's gonna be a dub. That's gotta be. They can't come back from this. Play Student. Pass the turn. We even have Mana Crypt so we can move Jitte around if we need to. Oh, yes. Yes! Armageddon! Alright. Let's open this treasure chest. That was good. I needed that. We get a Scale Lord Reckoner, which is a 5-mana 4/4 flying dragon with whenever a dragon you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls. Destroy a non-land permanent that player controls. Rite of Belzenlock, and 5 play points. Not the best treasure chest we've ever had, and actually probably pretty close to the worst. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though the last few times have been earlier than that. And I once again do apologize for the excess of upcoming Vintage Cube Limited content. I'll be doing a lot of Modern Horizons 2 limited and constructed content as soon as that releases, which I think is going to be sometime in early June. I know the modern format's going to change very rapidly and to a vast degree when the set does release, so a lot of the modern content that you would see me create right now probably wouldn't be as relevant anyway. But please be patient with me. I'll talk more about stuff when I can. It's not channel related once again, so there's no big surprise or anything that I'm working on, unfortunately, but it will be a major shift in some things if it goes through. So, alright, well, I hope you guys enjoyed. You're all wonderful human beings. Thanks for watching. Bye! Hey, just wanted to give a shout out to my patrons for the month of May. If you want to support my channel directly and have your name show up in this list, there's a link to my Patreon in the description down below. Thank you all.